You walk in here and we have the restaurant here, which is absolutely jam-packed. This is where you eat. Oh my goodness me, what have we got here? Oh my god, it's a JDM drift car. It is really busy in here. This is actually a drift car. Wow, that is so cool. And there's just so much stuff going on over here. As I say, if it's a place to come to see cars and eat, this is the place for you. And through here, oh my goodness me, must be very wary about drink. Wow, they've parked a Fiesta on top of a load of drink. Oh my goodness me. This could be... I wonder how they've put it up here. Absolutely exquisite. That's the Y roads. Oh, how exquisite. Yep, that's relatively rust-free under there, and obviously a bit of rust-free there if you want Hot Wheels. Okay. Get your Jam and get your Aston. And get your Cortina. That is just epic. Whoever came up with that idea, he's a genius. Amongst all the hoodies we have, moi. Oh, it's an Elvis. Oh, forgive my jigging camera action. Just putting my bag on my backside instead of jiggling around. Very nice indeed. Well, they seem to have every accessory going, including t-shirts, drinks bottles, everything you could want. Oh dearie, dearie me. I've seen the flat caps. No, must not buy no one. I've got enough flat caps as it is. They've even got a range of accessories here. Wheel cleaners, fallout, plastic dressing, snow foam, leather protection, anything you could want, to be honest. Lots of microfibers. In fact, I would recommend these drying towels because they really do the job. And then if you've done a good cleaning job, you can have a sweetie afterwards. Or if you've been a really, really good boy, you can have a pick and mix. And over here we have a Focus Mark III 0.5 ST. So towards the end of the Mark III era, where they slightly revised the rear lights and they revised the actual dashboard itself to unclutter the dashboard. The complaint on Mark III's is that there were far too many buttons on the center console, so they started introducing the Ford Sync system, which reduced the amount of buttons and made it a little bit more interactive, a little bit more streamlined. But again, this generation car suffers from one problem: too many buttons. Where'd you put them? And now they've got the answer. Just stick a big giant iPad touchscreen on the dashboard and all your problems will suddenly vanish. Not. And this is what you've all been waiting for. We have 4 Mark I Focuses in attendance, including my own, which has made it here with the slightest bit of exhaust leak from the sleeve. We'll ignore that because it's tiny. It made it here perfectly fine, no issues whatsoever. First time in 3 years, I'd say, I've done motorway miles of at least 100 miles. So well done, 50 Shades of Panther Black. You have earned probably a respray on that side for one journey. That's how much I love this car, and it's been fab driving it. I've had it in the garage for 2 weeks, and she started on the button and she works perfectly fine. Honestly, what can I say? I'm so glad she's made it to her first show. The second one, this is Alex's car. Now, this car may be familiar to people who've actually watched the Festival of the Unexceptional 2022. This car was on the show, and I believe it was only one of 2 Ford Focus Mark I's that were in attendance on that day. I meant to go, but because of work related, not my work. This car, because I was working on this car, faffing around doing all sorts of rubbish, I couldn't take it. Not because of the paint job. The paint job was actually later. But this car is a 53 plate, so later 2003 Zetec. 1.6, exactly the same as mine, but it has the 5-speed manual, which everybody is used to. The IB5, which is incredibly reliable as long as the oil is changed, as far as I'm concerned. It has been used as a daily driver up until fairly recently. It has done, I think, around 100 and, oh, I'll correct myself, it's done over 113,000 miles. I think it might be more than that. I'm going to be corrected on that for sure. And it is completely original, and the paintwork is exceptionally good. It's better than what's on my car. Even the lips are really good. There's a bit of scabness, as you'd expect on the corner as usual, but the paintwork, which is tonic blue, is one of the nicest Mark 1 colours ever. I would definitely put that up there because I'm biased, and I would put tonic blue as a really nice Mark 1 colour, whatever age of Focus. It just goes. It's just one of those really nice colours. In fact, I think Auto Trader did a thing probably about 10 years ago now, where they were celebrating the best cars of the last 25 years, and the Mark 1 Focus was #1, and it was a Mark 1 Focus like this, Zetec in tonic blue, and this could be that very car. It's exactly the same. It was registered at Reg Vardy, which most people will be familiar with, particularly up north. I think it's still a going concern, and Alex has had these plates made from the originals. These are not the original plates, they are retro plates, and I am going to be looking at getting some soon for mine in the future when I have the bumper sorted and all that. It has been, say, a very daily driver. I mean, the sort of commute that Alex has been doing in this is ridiculous. My advice to him was to not keep driving it, because even for 1.6 petrol, even though these can do very high mileages, and Alex has been changing the oil and keeping up the maintenance methodically, it's still possibly going to be too much, the mileage he was doing in about a year's time. I think he done something stupid like 30,000 miles in the last 12 months or something like that. Again, I might have my figures a bit wrong, but it was a big mileage. He does a lot of commuting in this to get to and from work. He now has a Mark 6 Fiesta, a very late Mark 6 with the 1.25 Sigma engine, which he has been doing 68 miles per the gallon to and from work, which is ridiculous. It just goes to show what a great engine the Sigma is, and quite frankly what a dependable engine it is, even in a late Mark 6 Fiesta. That's now his daily car. This is now like mine. It is basically a car to be selectively driven as and when required. I'm really impressed by the state of this car. I really am. And he has cloth leather seats, and this is something that I may have to correct myself in a video that I may or may not have released yet, but he actually has cloth seats with airbags in them, and that was only possible if you bought the Reflex pack, which this car has. And next door to it we have a car that is very familiar to a small number of people, but I thought I would talk about this car, and it is a Ford Focus Zetec on paper. That is what it says on the logbook, that is what it says on my spreadsheet, etc. But this is actually a Y-Reg Ford Focus Finesse. I know some of you are going to say, what on earth am I talking about? There was no such thing. That was exactly my reaction when I heard about this car. This is a car on another Ford Focus Mark 1 channel called Keep Focused. So go and check that channel out. The owner has done quite a few videos on this. You know, with the I think he's done some conversion to the bonnet where it's actually a strut instead of a handle, which is really nice. He has at the back here, I'll show you, he has a collection rear bumper, complete, because it was available at the time and it matched the car, so he said why not, and he's put a badge on it, which wouldn't have been there originally. It would have been unbadged, I suspect, but that is, I'm going to explain that in a second. Got the original registration plates, Y-Reg, with the Lexus rear lights, which I'm not a fan of, but this was a common modification for many years, and you will see many Focuses with that sort of mod. Bodywork, we've got some colour coordination going on, which wouldn't have happened brand new. We have the leather seats from the factory, a double din fascia panel. So it's all been sort of used. It's been used, it's been enjoyed, and that's what it's about. Nothing more than that. And it's pretty original on the front. It has the mesh grille off the collection, presumably off the same car that bumper came off. Unfortunately, the front bumper wasn't in such great condition that it could be used. I believe it was missing the wire mesh. And I believe on a collection front bumper, if you're missing the wire mesh, you might as well not bother buying it at all, which is what the owner decided to not do in this case. It has the wiper blades that I have used before, the aero wiper blades. And that's really that for this car. But basically, the story for this car is that this is actually a very, very rare dealer limited edition. It was sold by the dealer, I think Quirks is the name, okay? It is still a going concern. It was basically offered as an optional, as a dealer option or special limited edition, which was like unofficial. And the owner has actually got an advert saying that this is one of 50 cars that they were basically trying to sell under the Ford Focus Finesse name. The Finesse being the name that they gave to the car. So basically, it may have been a batch of cars that they were trying to move on, because this is a March, I think a March April 2001 reg, if I'm mistaken. So at this time, the facelift version was going to come out in about 3 or 4 months time. So I believe that dealers may have wanted to move these on quite quickly. So it's possible they started offering all sorts of options on these to get rid of them. And I suspect that selling them under, oh, this is one of 50 limited Finesse editions, this is potentially the only one of that 50 left on the roads. You'll never know, because if the owner hadn't got a piece of paper to say that, to advertise that this is one of 50, he would not even know himself. He would just think, well, it's another Z-Tech. But it isn't. It's a 3-door, exactly the same as mine in that respect. And I do like the pre-facelifts in some respects. For instance, the fact that you haven't got trims. You've got the trims on the rear bumpers of the facelifted ones, but on these, it's just a smooth. And I quite like that, because quite frankly, it goes in with this. You've got this smooth continuous line. Again, the same with this. It smooths out from the semi-elliptic groove and then goes into the bumper. It's continuous. Whereas, unfortunately, with the facelift ones, it's interrupted. There's no line there, and it's interrupted by this trim. I don't like that as much. I think I don't know why they did that, because that would have cost them money to put these trim panels in, but they clearly had enough of people denting the bumpers enough for them to actually want to actually make the change. It would have cost them more money to do so. Again, the same with this car, but all the same, it is used, it is enjoyed, and it is a pleasure to see. And then over here we have Adam's TDDI diesel LX. Now, I'm going to have to do some research on this, but the truth is, I know by figure of heart, there is less than 1,000 TDDI Mark 1s left in the UK on the road. End of. This would be a particularly rare version. It is on a Y-Reg. It's had a bit of a battered life in places. It's been used, it's been enjoyed, and it will be approaching 200,000 miles in the not too distant future. So for a TDDI, that's nothing. It's running in, because these engines can do so much mileage, it's untrue. We are going to have a look under the bonnet of all these in a second, but this has had a rear disc conversion, a very popular conversion that would have been done in the back in the day, the last 10 years, it was a very popular thing to say, can I convert my drums to discs? Yes, you can, but you need the hubs. Today, it's a bit more difficult because getting the hubs is getting more harder, but it's still possible. And a lot of people don't like faffing around with the drums, and I completely understand about that because they are a pain as usual. But this one, it runs like a Swiss watch. I mean, I heard it come in. You heard this car actually come in as I was filming earlier, and it sounds exactly as any TDDI engine. It sounds like a damn tractor, but it is an absolute stonking good example of what is now an exceptionally rare variant. I think the problem is my channel is guilty of one thing. Because of the fact that mine's a petrol, I have not covered the diesels, and the truth is I don't know as much about them. But these are pre-Commonwealth diesels, mechanical fuel pumps. They are very easy to work on if there is anything to go wrong. Very rarely do things go wrong. The injectors are mechanical valve injectors. They are not electric solenoid computer controlled injectors of the TDCI, which tend to go out quite a bit. There is really a lot to go wrong with the diesels, but they are very frugal. They just keep going on, and TDCIs have a known fault of blowing injectors. These do not. And the interior in here is of this really nice cloth, this cloth interior. I will show you this in a second while we invite the owners over, but I just wanted to talk to you about the cars myself before we talk to the owners about this. But as I say, the pre-facelift, I will explain about the paintwork. There has been a lot of rattle canning going on, but the truth is, if you're under a budget, you can't afford, most people cannot afford for a paint sprayer to do this job. Personally, I'm having to dip well into my wallet to pay for this stuff to be done to my Mark 1, and believe you me, it's something that paintwork kills projects. It literally kills projects. This one, I believe on this side, if I come around here, it's had the arch cut out of a much better Focus. So this is a good arch, and it's been done up to about this point. But the paintwork hasn't been done greatly, and you can see where they've actually, it's actually seamed straight on. That will need sanding down and having a look at, but it's all solid. And at the end of the day, that's what I really think is most important. Number one, you make the underside of the car solid, and then you go on from there. So we have these 4 Focuses in attendance, and it's just so nice to actually see 4 really nice Focuses at a show, because we've had a sort of random bunch today, and quite frankly, when have you seen this amount of Ford Focus Mark 1s anywhere in years? I think the last time I've seen Focuses in a supermarket car park was, I can't remember. And I really hope that this is just the start of more shows and more meetups, because people need to know that these cars are now on the map, and it starts here. And yes, I am aware that there is a modified Ford Focus Mark 1 scene, and that is a scene that, it's not me, but I like the fact that these cars are out and about, whether they're modified or they're not. It is a special car, and it has always been a good car to modify, but I'm just showing you that there is another side to it, and it is keeping mostly cars original, keeping them fairly original with subtle modifications like this car. You know, it's had a life, it's had bits added to it, but it's enjoyed and loved, and that's the main thing. Over the last week, I have been working quite hard to start a Mark 1 preservation group. This has always been on the cards. I've always wanted to start my own group, and it was always in the pipeline, because quite frankly, I've been not just encouraged, but I've been pushed to start something by a really small but growing number of enthusiasts that absolutely love these cars to bits. And I'm having so many people emailing me, basically people coming out the woodwork and saying, look, I've had my Focus for 20 years. I didn't know it was valuable. I mean, you know, I had somebody message me saying that it was a car bought by his late wife, and he was thinking, oh, it needs a lot of work. I don't really know much that I can do on the car, and I can't really afford to keep paying the garage hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Would you be able to do some videos to show me some basic maintenance? Yes, of course, and of course you should keep it. because quite frankly, these are absolutely amazing cars to keep. They're so cheap and basic and usable and enjoyable. I don't know any Fords that come into that category, and quite frankly, and this is a controversial opinion to those who don't want to hear it, but you name me a better Ford ever. You name me a Ford that is better than a Mark 1 Focus. Name me one, give me your reasons, put it in the comments, because I think you'll find it hard, and I will argue very much against that. But you know, I'm biased, but please put it in the comments, because I think there is a great argument to be had to say that Mark 1's is the best. A Mark 1 Focus is the best Ford that has ever been produced. There is nothing that has been made like it since, and nothing that has compared to it from before. Okay, it's very difficult. Cars define their eras. I think the Cortino, very important car. Mark 1 Fiesta, very important car. Mark 1 Focuses, exceptionally important, because I think it's why people have loved Fords ever since. If they hadn't produced the Mark 1 Focus, it would have been another dreary Escort Mark 8. Where would Ford be? Would they exist today? That's a good question, but then that's just a hypothetical question. Anyway, let's see if we can look at the cars in more detail now. Before I move on, actually, the group is on Facebook. It is live. It is the Ford Focus Mark 1 98 to 2005 preservation group. I will show you the group poster now. Okay, so this is the poster. So we have the Mark 1 preservation group. That is what it's called on Facebook. Please join up. Preserving, driving, enjoying, celebrating Ford's design classic. And we are on Facebook. That's the only place we are on. We want to try and keep things simple and lean, and I want to make it manageable for myself, running a YouTube channel concentrating on both Ford and Rover stuff. But this is the group, and this is the one you join. If you want to keep connected and share your love for Mark 1's, whatever Mark 1 you have, I don't care what, join. Because on this group we will use it to connect with my YouTube channel, and to do shout outs for meets and shows, and to get these cars shown and appreciated for what they are, and make them visible. That's the ultimate aim, to make these visible, to make people aware that this is now a modern classic, and people absolutely love these cars. And from my YouTube channel, that is certainly the case. But I don't think the wider general car community knows this. Right, we have now put the bonnets up, and you don't need to look at this because you know this. This is Alex's, obviously, and the glossy nature is down to Auto Grim vinyl and rubber cleaner, which it hasn't actually buffed in. It's just sprayed it on and left it, and I think that is just a ridiculously good idea. And the effect is, well, it looks like he did it about a minute ago, but he didn't. He's just had the timing belt, the water pump, and the coolant bottle sorted, so he's had a flush out there. Anything else that's been done?
Not on the engine.
Not on the engine, no. It's just other bits and pieces that have been fallen apart, as usual. Fix or repair daily as such. And this is the inside. And then this is what you would expect on a Z-Tech. This is the Harlequin trim. Every single Mark 1 Focus smells the same. I've put my nose in all these cars, by the way, before, and they all smell the same. It is that 90s plasticky Ford smell that I think is becoming extremely, it's getting stronger as they get older. The smell is getting stronger. I think you understand what I'm trying to say when I'm talking about that. Steering wheel looks really nice, actually, with the big fatter airbag there, and the original radio. Everything is original, and he has got a replacement gear knob, which they always wear every single time. You get your center rear hard. There is actually something I'm going to show you that you wouldn't have noticed before. As I touched on this before, but these seats come with side airbags. This car would have had the reflex pack, which was extremely rare. In fact, I didn't know about it until fairly recently, and it is very rare for you to have that on the cloth set. Very rare. You can only get them on the Reflex pack. If you otherwise want airbags on your seats, buy the leather set. And then we have the car next door, the Finesse, with the heated leather seats, with the earlier dashboard, with the earlier cup holders. I actually prefer these because they're actually deeper than the actual later cars. They're really deep. Lovely gear badge there, and the gear knob is actually not really worn at all, and the owner has installed a very nice armrest indeed. In fact, these seats are really good. They're actually in much better condition than mine. These are really nice. Really nice. Obviously, we haven't got minimal changes. We've got some chrome door handles that the owner has fitted. There are a few things. My steering wheel used to look like this, but it no longer does so. Excuse the sun, guys. And we have some interesting adaptations made. We have a trip computer up there which fully works, and a double DIN. Wow, that's a proper infotainment system. I think this is a touchscreen one, but the idea is if you want one of these, you're going to have to change the fascia to a double DIN fascia. You can get them aftermarket, or you can butcher your old one. You've got to sort of cut the original one a bit more, so it's a bit more square in the corners. That's the only way you can do it to fit it. But overall, really nice. Trims are falling off, that's a usual thing. And oh, we've got neon lights. And as opposed to Alex's, this is what you would normally expect under the bonnet of a Mark 1, a 1.6 ZTEC, again with air conditioning. So we have all the pipe work for it. This is familiar to you guys. My car is just weird. With all the little scabbiness that you would usually expect. This is a really fascinating car because this is exactly what you would expect on a Mark 1. And to be honest, if I saw a Mark 1 in this dry condition, I would absolutely buy it, because there's just no leaks. I can't see any leaks whatsoever. It's not hiding anything. The earlier models have this fuel regulation valve which you can swap on and off. These don't make much of a difference, to be honest. It doesn't have a MAF sensor. It has a map sensor, just like Alex's car. It does have obviously this at the back, which I got rid of, this insulation and this heat shrink all the way down there. I threw mine in the bin because it was getting a bit funny around here. They get really nasty and I couldn't clean it properly. I just threw it straight in the bin. There's a few things that I've messed about with mine, but this is a really honest example. Everything you would typically expect. Obviously, we have no air deflector. It's just a normal air intake. I'll say lovely air conditioning sticker like this with R1348 is what you would need. And the owner has also fitted struts. Really cute struts. In fact, if I just demonstrate on camera, it's actually hard to pull it down. And then if I just release, hey presto. And over here we have Adam's TDDI diesel. Sorry, I lost my thoughts there. It is the 1.8 TDDI, known as a transit engine. It's not really a transit engine, that was a 2.2. More of a transit connect engine, which would have been frequently used in that car. It was actually the standard engine in that car. But in a Mark 1 Focus, in the early days, this is what you got. Pre-TDCI era, you got the Endura diesel DI. And Adam has actually had this sandblasted, which is why it looks so clean. Usually they go really picky and scabby with some of the finish and the coating. But he's had a lot of work done to this. Had a new manifold at the back, which is why it looks so nice. Apparently it's £30 off eBay, new old stock. There's just some things that honestly you got to grab them while you can. It looks really neat in here. It's probably the tidiest diesel that I've seen in a long time. Usually they've got oil leaks everywhere. There's just nothing to go wrong with these. As I said before, you know, the injectors are, you know, there's no actual issues at all really. We have some sort of mass airflow sensor there. As I say, I don't know too much about these, but they're very simple indeed. And these do not come with engine covers. Engine covers, it's not missing one. Only the TDCi got engine covers, something that I was not previously aware about. I am now. And apparently these came with under trays as well. Most of them don't have their under trays anymore. They would have probably got bashed by a speed hump and been left somewhere down the road for the council to wipe up. So most of them don't have them, or if they do have them, generally they will pick up stones and God knows what. But anyway, I'm going to show you inside the interior, because this car is an LX and it has really comfortable and very nicely coloured fabric upholstery. Now, I'm not sure what the name for this is, but quite frankly, I've seen something similar on the buses. This looks like bus moquette to me, but honestly, these are really comfortable seats in comparison with the facelift ones. They really did cheapen these cars out towards the end. I don't know whether that's original. This car has been in the family for about 18 years, since it was, I think it was a fleet car originally, and then it's been in the same family ever since. And Adam's granddad, many years ago, who's no longer with us sadly, that is a precious I think it was an air freshener that was put in. It was a dolphin shaped air freshener. It's still there to this day, a very nice memoriam. And this is actually a switch that was fitted by his granddad for heated windscreen, because this car would not have come with a heated windscreen, but it does have a heated windscreen, believe it or not. And it is an aftermarket one. Now, I don't know if you can see the name. It is an XYG as far as the name goes. It is an aftermarket screen. You can barely tell the lines. I didn't actually tell until he actually said something to me, because I assumed it didn't have, because they wouldn't have had these brand new. And yes, there was some definite wiring going through, very clever wiring going through with a big fuse, so that he now has a heated windscreen. And I think that's such a lovely touch, and it's just it's an example of a car that, quite frankly, has been loved through the generations of one family. And I think there's so many of these that are still going to this day. It's untrue. They're just loved. And when you've got a good example, you just stick to it. And I know that Adam will never get rid of this car, because quite frankly, I wouldn't. And in here, I forgot to mention, we've got this lovely 6006E. Is it a CD changer? I don't know if it's a CD changer model. I might be wrong about that one, but that 6006E was more or less to the top. This car would probably not have come with that radio brand new. I certainly wouldn't have, to be honest. It doesn't look like, apart from the fact that we wouldn't have had a heated screen, TDDI, I don't think it would have come with much else, particularly being an LX. And we've had some interesting kick plates applied to the car. Nice touch there. I have to say, I think the quality of the fabric, I will say this, even at the back of the fabric, it's the same sort of quality fabric as you would get at the front of the seat. Now, a lot of manufacturers, they just cheap it out by putting vinyl at the back, and it's just nasty. It's nasty to look at. I think the carpet is a different quality as well. I think it feels much more plusher, even though it's this sort of not this pile look. It's sort of recycled stuff. But I still think there's just an element of little touches here and there, a little bit of class that these cars had early on that they kind of lost through cost cutting, and that is typical of manufacturers doing this. But if I actually show you Alex's car, you see this fabric is just not as nice. It's cheaper, it's thinner, and it's just not nice to look at. They definitely did something with these facelifted models where the cost cutting was starting to bite a lot more. But otherwise, you wouldn't really notice. And that's the thing. Cost cutting is about taking away things that the customers may not otherwise notice, but we would notice. This is a really bright and lovely sunny day. I'm so glad the weather has turned up like this. And this is what you came to see. And quite frankly, these cars all show their individuality and their history in various different ways. And quite frankly, I'm so glad to have actually been a pleasure to come here and meet like-minded people who actually love these cars. And quite frankly, that's what it's all about. It's not necessarily about the cars, it's about the people. And I'm really pleased and pleasure to have met so many nice people. So anyway, I'm going to leave this here. This episode is going to finish on a very good note. It's going to finish with maybe a few pictures here and there. But overall, thank you for joining me to look at what I've been experiencing at the Motorist. there will be many more car shows on the ropes as such going forwards. So keep a listen out on the channel, and if you are into Ford Focus Mark 1s, please join the group, because that way you can stay in contact with me a little bit more and what's going on in the Mark 1 world in terms of meets and groups. So please, thank you very much for watching this. Take care. I will see you very soon. This is where I need a rail, ladies and gentlemen.